Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Welcome. I'm the guest here, but I wasn't always a guest. This was my home, and Rav Noach Weinberg, we dedicated this particular shir. There's not just a shir, a whole series, 50 classes, over 400 hours of preparation time and class time on the 48 Ways to Wisdom. I want to tell you, when I was here as a young guy, I don't think I took advantage. And I implore you, after I get through with this, I think you should understand. Hopefully you guys will understand how important these are. Just to mention, I want to talk about myself at the end. So I'm going to skip all that. We're going to get straight to the Sium and what this is all about. I run a Kiruv program. It's called Yibaneh. And we have a YouTube channel. We have over 1,200,000 views. We have 7,500 subscribers worldwide, and I was approached by the Noahide World Center to present ideas that even the whole world would be inspired by, and it was not hard at all to choose these subjects that I discussed. The series called Beyond the Seven. So I discussed the 7 Noahide laws to start with. And for those who are not that knowledgeable, non-Jews are also obligated in ethics and in any mitzvahs that are logical. So Beyond the 7 really introduces the non-Jewish world to a lot of Jewish wisdom. And after I got done the introduction, I did the 6 constant mitzvahs, which was only about 8 classes. So that was not a huge undertaking. But when I decided I'll do the 48 ways, I was a little bit petrified that I wouldn't finish it. But I knew that I was going to dedicate these classes to Rav Noach, to the memory of Rav Noach, and it wasn't that hard for me because as we will talk about, the 50th way is really about showing gratitude. Now, how has that come about? Because the actual way is to say over in the name of the person that said whatever it is you heard. And so how does that have to do with gratitude? So even though the Rosh HaYeshiva calls this particular, the 50th way, I guess you guys are asking yourself, how are there 50 ways if it's 48 ways to wisdom? Well, it all depends on the different manuscripts and how you break down some of them. But according to, even to the Midrash Shmuel, I just want to show you the svarim I used, right? This was it. This was like number 1, right? That's the sefer that the students of Rav Noach put together. Rabbi Nehemiah Coopersmith and Shraga Simmons, good friends of mine. The Midrash Shmuel, which is translated now into English. This was written, it's 500 years ago. And I'll tell you, I have here my little notes. So this was put together by Rav Shmuel de Uzida, one of the, he was a Talmud of the Arizal and of Rav Chaim Vital. So we're talking about like 450 years ago, close to 500 years ago. And another sefer is the Maharal, Derech HaChaim. I use that also. And the Metifto on Pirkei Avot. So the last 2 are just in Hebrew. And so hopefully you'll dive in and learn some Hebrew. Just before we start, we're in the Parshiot, dealing with the Mishkan and the Kelim and the Begadim. And I've heard from people say that it's very monotonous and maybe even boring and there's no depth to it, and it couldn't be further from the truth. All you have to do is open up some svarim and learn a little bit. And I'll just begin. I mentioned how important how important the 48 ways are, right? So the Vilna Gaon says that in order to acquire Torah, I assume everyone here wants to acquire Torah, you wouldn't be here. In order to acquire Torah, you need all 48 ways. I mean, I hope that doesn't come as a shock, right? You look at the Sefer and you say, yeah, I can do that, I relate to that. But according to the Vilna Gaon, you need all 48 ways. According to the Maharal, and it goes into the actual, the measurements of the Aron, right? The Aron HaKodesh has a crown on it and represents that it's that everybody can have the crown of Torah, as we know that Vasu, right? They made and it's Hefker L'Kol. Everybody wants Torah, and it's available to everybody. You don't have to be a Kohen. You don't have to be from the seed of David, right? It's available to every single one of us. So if you look at the dimensions, it's 2.5 amos in length, and it's 1.5 amos wide. So if you add the whole thing, it's actually 8 amos. And 8 amos, when you think of how big is an amma, is 6 tefachim. So really it's 48 tefach. 48 tefach. So the Vilna Gaon, I mean, where did he get it from? He either got it from Shemayim or he got it from his rabbis. But it should be drilled into you. You're so lucky. I consider myself is so fortunate that I was in Aish HaTorah. I came in 88, okay? And I really wanted to make a Kenyan on Torah. And I was Mishamish Rav Gil Eisenbach the Mashgiach. I really was there. And I wanted to learn by the best. And the only way to get into the best class was to apply for smicha, to get into smicha program. So I would think I was one of the youngest students, not in age, but in terms of coming around to the Yiddishkeit. And I got in, and I was able to learn under Rav Berkowitz. And I feel very fortunate. So let me just sum up the 50th way so that we can say Kaddish Rabbanin, and then we'll have the Rabbi speak. So you'll find in chapter 6, Mishnah 6, so the 50th way. Again, some people don't say it's not even a way, but as I mentioned already, it goes like this at the end. I'm only quoting at the end. So it says like this. Repeating a saying in the name of the one who said it. Okay? Ha'omer davar b'shem yomru. Halamarta, behold, you already learned this. Where did we learn this from? What is today, by the way? Today is Yom Kippur Katan for Yerushalayim. So this is 30 days before our Purim. Okay, I'm not going to go into the whole idea of that, the significance of that, but I hope you all recognize there is a significance to that. So it says like this, I'm sure you've all heard this before. If you say over what you heard in the name of the person that said it, you're going to bring redemption closer. What's it based on? It's very nice to have said it. So the quote is from Megillah Esther itself, which we'll be reading maybe 30 days from now. The Toimer Esther Lemelech, remember Mordechai had overheard that there was a plot against the king. They were going to assassinate the king. And he didn't tell her to please say it in my name. In fact, he probably said, maybe you shouldn't. But either way, she knew the rule. You want to bring Geula? You say it over. And so she told the king that she heard it from Mordechai, and he wrote in his book. And the rest is really history. I want to get on with this. But so what does the Rosh HaYeshiva say about this? Number one, the title that he gives this particular way is credit where credit is due. That's true. So in other words, there's a humility factor involved by not taking credit. As the Rosh HaYeshiva always spoke about the 5 levels of pleasure, and then there's counterfeit pleasure. It's such counterfeit pleasure to walk around and say, hey, it's my idea. Yeah, I'm the one who invented the idea. That's fraud, and it's not going to get you anywhere. It's only going to leave you feeling more empty than you started with. He also calls it rewards of gratitude. And I think that's really what it comes down to. If you think it's valuable, you say thank you, right? When you think it's valuable. So you're saying over in the name of this guy, he said it, right? Rav Berkowitz said it, Rav Gil said it, Rav Noach said it. So then you're giving it value, and then you value it yourself. The Midrash Shmuel says something a little bit different, but I'll end with what he says, is that basically, one second, I usually say at this point, drum roll please, because then it gives me a few extra seconds to think. He says this gives you motivation to make your own chidushing, because if you know people are going to say it over in the name of the person that said it, wouldn't you like it to be said in your name? Okay, it doesn't mean it's egotistical. It just means that it's going to give you the motivation to go deeper and deeper. And once you make that real Kenyan and it's yours, you can actually say it in your name. And that's how I want to finish the idea. We'll say Kaddish the Rabbanin, and then the Rosh HaYeshiva will speak, and Rav Gil will say a few words. And Yehuda Weinberg, is he still here? Maybe he can say a few words too. I don't know if he's still here. Okay. Rabbi Chananya ben Akashi Oimer Ratzah Kadosh Baruch Hu L'zchut et Yisrael Lefichach Hibber lehem Torah mitzvot shenemar Adar I chafetz leman tzidko Yagdir tov v'yadir Yiskadel v'yiskadeh Shemei Rabba V'yomad Yivrak Yerusei Vel Mikmach Husei V'chayechonu v'mechonu V'chayechol Eis Yisroel B'argalov Yizman Karev V'imru Amen Hey Shemei Rabba Mivorach Le'olam Omeon Mayo Yisborach v'yishtabach v'yismor v'yisrma v'yisnaseh v'yisadar v'yisaleh v'yisalal shemei l'hutsha b'richu leila mincha birchas v'shiraso tush b'chas nechamaso d'marbama v'imru amen al Yisroel v'arabanan v'al tamidehon v'chol tamidei samidehon v'chol mandas kimroiz divas rakadei yadem v'dim chol asar v'asar yehei lahon u'lachon shlam ha'rav v'china v'chisar rachamim v'chayin v'richin v'zunei v'richai v'chana min kodom v'hon v'shmai v'imru amen yehei shlam ha'rav min shemai v'chayim aleinu v'yalcho Yisrael v'imru amen. Oh, say shalom v'imru ma'hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'yalcho Yisrael v'imru amen. So I invite Rosh HaYeshiva to come up and say a few words. I know you're short on time.
The 48 ways were once the backbone of the curriculum, almost the sum total of the curriculum for people coming in off the street. It was understood that you didn't skip the 48 ways, you came right into and come right into the yeshiva. And if you did, then you'd have to study the 48 ways anyway. What does Kenyan Hattoromi? What does it mean to be Kona Torah? An acquisition of it. An acquisition of it means not that you memorized a bunch of information, not that you can quote it. An acquisition means it becomes part of you. Tachlis Torah Tshuva Maisim Tovim, the purpose of Torah is to transform one. When the Rambam speaks of wisdom as the goal of humanity, our whole existence is there to become wise. He very clearly defines wisdom as wisdom that transforms. We're talking about wisdom that you don't just keep in your head. Wisdom that's integrated into every aspect of your life. Kenyan HaTorah means acquisition. In order to acquire Torah, you need these 48 ways. You need the Memches Dvarim, the 50 of them or so. You need the Memches Dvarim, because without them, it is nothing other than an academic exercise. The world is filled with institutions of higher education. They don't change people. Torah is not there just to fill our brains with information, it's there to change us. And in order for that to happen, you need the Memches Dvarim. So to jump into the Beis Medrash without the Memches Dvarim means that you'll pick up some information perhaps, maybe you'll learn some skills, but you won't be changed. Very much on the agenda is reviving this process here. There's one problem. Rav Noach did a beautiful job. Beautiful, I mean, it's an understatement. What he did was ingenious. He adapted the Memches Dvarim and turned them into the Memches Dvarim that were relevant to the people coming in. The problem is that not unlike the fact that in the Mishnah, or the Brisa, whatever we'll call it, what's said there doesn't necessarily relate to people until Rav Noach came and brought it down into that century. The world has changed immensely since Rav Noach's days. And there's a need to go and adapt the 48 ways into today's world. That's a challenge we throw out to everyone. Anyone that feels he can do it or at least do part of it is welcome. The 48 ways have to be back here. This has to be the introduction or at least accompany your early years of learning so that you do acquire your learning, that your learning is transformational. want to wish you a mazel tov. You're from the old generation. You're not part of this new liberal world. The 48 ways still speak to you. Baruch Hashem, you should continue to learn them, teach them, really disseminate this. And Yitzchak Hashem, we look forward to the day that every Jew will walk around not only learning the 48 ways, but having picked up every one of them, having really adapted them in his life, so that every pasuk of Chumash, that every Maimer Chazal can then transform one into being more and more like Hashem, more and more godly, bigger, greater, so that we become the Mamlechas Kohanim V'Goy Kodesh that Torah is supposed to turn us into. Mazel tov.
I have to start by saying how dear of Aaron Dovid Poston is to myself and to people that were around years ago when Aish HaTorah in 1988 he said he came. Okay. We remember those days very, very well. Aaron Poston, Shem Davar, something very real. A person who dedicated himself to growing in Torah and then committed himself to sharing the Torah that he learned and Torah that he was going to learn, Torah that he still does learn with the Olam. And it's good to hear that Yibaneh, his organization, the organization that he started, is still doing well and reaching out. You should have much hatzlacha and much nachas. I'll say over a short vort that I heard from a Rav in my neighborhood, Rav Yonah Kopshitz. Rav Yonah Kopshitz said this following vort. He said, you know, when we finish a Masechta, we say a tefillah, we say, Kishem she'azartani l'sayim Masechta zo, kach ta'azreini lahaschil u'l'sayim Masechtos acheros. Just as Almighty, you have helped me complete this Masechta, so may you help me begin and complete other Masechtas. Think about that. It's a little bit lopsided. You say, just as you helped me complete the Masechta, so may you help me begin and end other Masechtas. I mean, either speak exclusively about ending, or both beginning and ending. Why is this just as you help me end this Masechta, so may you help me begin and end other Masechtas? A little bit lopsided, you hear what I'm saying? Should say begin, just like you helped me begin and end, so may you help me begin and end. Or just like you helped me end, so too may you help me end. The answer is that we begin a lot of things. Listen, I can talk about myself here. I've begun a lot of projects. How many times did I begin Daf Hayomi? How many times did I begin Rambam? Different Sfarim. But to end, Reb Noach used to speak, he used to say, there's Alcoholics Anonymous, and then there's Quitters Anonymous. We're all quitters. We're all professional quitters. We start, what do you mean, Chas v'shalach? You're right, but it's true, okay? You start something wonderful, you're gung-ho, you're going to go with it, right? And then after you end up on first base, that's it. It flitters through the fingers, you know? You lose it. So we ask Hashem, just like we finished, so too may we begin. That's not so difficult, but to begin and finish. To begin and finish other Sfarim. And Aaron Dovid has done it. I will say that in the history of the yeshiva, there have been many that tried to write up the 48 ways, and Aaron Dovid hasn't written it up, but it's all on, what's it called? YouTube. All on YouTube. So you don't have to watch those sports things on YouTube, yeah? Look at the real Torah, yeah? Many people have tried to write up 48 ways. I won't mention any names, but there are many people that tried, and it's not easy. Not easy, but Noach's genius. Not easy to transcribe it and to make it into something readable. Nehemiah and Shraga Simmons, they did it. Moch Hashem, very good. but to hear of somebody else, not just somebody, but Rabbi Aaron Dovid Poston, that completed the entire series, presenting it, making it bite-sized and able to be chewed and appreciated and enjoyed, savory taste of real Torah. That's a great, great thing. So I want to wish Rabbi Aaron Dovid, just like you finished this project, may you begin and finish many, many other future products and reach out to other people and more people and bring them back. And may we see, we're on the wrong side of the, on the right side of the yeshiva, but on the wrong side of the wall. One day may we see the rebuilding of the Beit HaMikdash, and we'll be able to go there and pray and offer the sacrifices and really be close with Hashem. V'shachanti b'socham. Amen v'amen. Amen.
Shamash, Shir, Chadash.